Hey, what's up guys? Joker here. Today we have a series of leaked benchmarks for the upcoming Kaby Lake lineup of processors from Intel, specifically the i5 7600K versus the i5 6600K of the previous Skylake generation, so we can get an idea of what type of performance improvements we are seeing over the previous generation architecture, courtesy of pconline.com.cn. It's a Chinese website who already has samples and have already been testing the Kaby Lake lineup of processors, but we're going to be focusing on the i5 here because that's all the numbers that they have as far as an even matchup is concerned. So according to these numbers, we're actually seeing very small IPC gains, about roughly 1% only, over the previous generation Skylake processors when tested at the same speeds, showing that the performance improvements that they're seeing are really more so due to the fact that they come out of the box at a higher clock speed at 3.8 gigahertz and boosting to 4.2 gigahertz, while the previous generation i5 6600Ks came out of the box at 3.5 gigahertz and boosted to 3.9. So what this is really showing is that, for Skylake users, it's probably not going to be worth upgrading to Kaby Lake, which I could have assumed, to begin with. But we're going to go ahead here and take a quick look at the numbers. Up first, we have the 3D Mark Firestrike CPU score performance, where the i5 7600K pulled in 9232 versus the 8511 of the Skylake 6600K. Following that up, we have a Cinebench score, which I'm not sure if this is the single-threaded or the multi-threaded test, but we can see the i5 7600K pulling in 690 versus the 646 of the i5 6600K, and these are the out-of-the-box performance numbers that we are seeing here. On the Fritz chess benchmark, we saw yet again the i5 7600K pulling ahead, but only by a small amount, with 12,972 versus the 12,038 on the Skylake 6600K. And we've also got Photoshop CS6 in here, where the Skylake processor actually pulled ahead with 95 versus the 90. I'm assuming that that's seconds for a render time. I have to assume that that was a render time for images, probably a processing time or something like that. I don't know of a score that actually goes along with Photoshop for any sort of benchmark, but those are numbers that we are seeing there. So, for a lot of people that had asked questions on the previous Kaby Lake video that I did, asking, is it worth going to be upgrading from a Skylake processor? No, certainly not. If you're on anything like, Haswell or above, it's probably not going to be worth your while upgrading to. I would say most of the information that's out there now on Skylake versus the previous gen processors is probably going to continue to hold true once we do see Kaby Lake ship very shortly, probably within the next month or so. I'm expecting to see these processors hitting store shelves here in the US. So if you want to refer to some information, PC Per actually did a really good article back when Skylake came out, testing it against like Sandy Bridge and with GPUs, and just showing all of the the performance improvements that you could see going from that far back to the new ones, where in certain use cases it was worthwhile upgrading from back on the i5 2500K to the newer Skylake lineup of processors. But if you're on one of the newer ones like Devil's Canyon or something like that, it's really not going to be worth it to you to upgrade to Kaby Lake, so you're probably better off just sticking with what you got, unless you just have a bug to go out there and upgrade, or if you want DDR4 memory support, something along those lines. But if you're on Skylake, you've already got that anyway, so there's certainly no reason for you to upgrade if you are on Skylake. But I'm going to go ahead and put this all down below in the description if you want to go ahead and check out PC Per's article. So if you are on the older Sandy Bridge or Ivy Bridge, something around that, or even before that with Intel, then you can get an idea of the type of performance increases you would see if you did choose to pick up Kaby Lake or even Skylake, if maybe you could save a few bucks on that. We are expecting to see this i5 7600K launching at around $250, and the i7 variant, the 7700K, will probably be up around the $350 price point, which is fairly typical for these lineup of Intel processors. But I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here, guys. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on the somewhat disappointing, I feel, Kaby Lake performance that we are seeing here. Only about a 1% IPC gain when tested at the same clock speeds versus Skylake. So, like I said, rather disappointing, and I'll catch you guys next time. Ta-ra.